welcome to Whose Turn Is It Anyway, a podcast all about our twisting journey to curate the best board game collections ever. I'm Becky, your current first player, joined today around the table by JP.
Hello.
And Adrian.
Hello.
So our episode today is all about whether you can ever have too many games in your collection. But before we delve into that question, how are we all?
Yeah, pretty good for me.
Yeah, not too bad at all.
Yeah, I'm pretty good too.
Yeah, you got over your Iron Maiden.
Yeah. Had a few sleeps since then.
It's the number of the beast.
It was amazing. It was just amazing. I'm wearing the t-shirt again.
I know, that's why I mentioned it.
It's almost like this is my podcast recording uniform now.
Yeah.
Yep.
Iron Maiden and Crocs.
I am a style icon.
You are. You're a trendsetter.
Yeah. Tropical green Crocs as well.
Have you got over the concert? Because obviously you came back from a weekend.
Yeah.
You had a heavy weekend.
I
You went to a
did.
concert and then you went back to work. So
Yeah,
you got
I did.
over that now.
Yeah, just about.
Just
About. That was really silly, wasn't it?
It was. But we've all done that.
Yeah,
We've all been
well,
there.
and I continue to do it because it's the only way that you can fit your stuff in, isn't it? So,
Yeah.
there we go.
No one has 60 days holiday they can take a year. Not really.
Sad times. Yeah.
It's all
Anyway,
good.
Adrian, how's life with you?
Yeah, all good. Nothing really to write home about. Sort of still just a bit of board gaming and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, nothing exciting, I'm afraid, to zhuzh up the start of the podcast.
As is our tradition, let's talk about Hex. What's our latest games played, bought, backed, etc.? Anyone been doing any kickstarting or
No.
founding?
No.
No, I've been pretty good for now. For the moment.
There, look how much you've grown.
Well, no, because if you'd asked me like 2 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago, I might have a different story. No, I've not backed anything for a while, which is a good thing, I think.
Yeah.
It's been a tough few months though. There's been some good things coming out or coming onto the crowdfunding for sure. But I've avoided it.
Dog Park expansion.
Oh,
my
yeah?
first Kickstarter.
Is this your first one?
Yeah. So I did Game Found with Zuli, obviously.
Yeah.
The Zuli expansion. And Dog Park expansion. I've kickstarted
New
it.
tricks.
Yeah.
Nice.
Can't teach an old dog new
No,
tricks.
and I bought the little the jigsaw puzzle.
You've bought the jigsaw.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah, because it was cool.
You're their dream, aren't you?
Yeah.
You're the dream backer.
Insert bit of tax
Yeah,
nonsense
yeah.
here. Ooh,
£10.
I'll
Thank
have
you.
it. £13 actually for the jigsaw puzzle.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Anyway, you start, Becky.
Yeah,
It's your
so-
birthday recently, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. So we decided to finally get Wild Serengeti off the shelf of shame. It's been sat there, I think, for a year-ish.
Yeah. Well, you
We
bought
it from Ben.
didn't you?
We did, and we were like, right, we'll play that. And we watched the...
That was last UK Games
Yep.
Expo, wasn't it?
Yeah. We watched the how-to video, and we're like, oh, yeah, that sounds... Yep. Get it? Yep. And then we didn't play it. And that was months ago. So right, okay, we better just have a quick refresh. But wow, what a game. What a game. It's amazing. And I won. So, on
That
a bit of a
Slam dunk.
winning streak. Yeah, yeah. And I don't think Kerley went easy on me just because it was my birthday, because I don't think
You didn't go easy on
that
anyone.
wouldn't, yeah. And I wouldn't want that either.
No.
But yeah, it's a very kind of... It's got elements of other games that I enjoy. So there's kind of like, I guess, quest cards similar to Lords of Waterdeep, where you've got to achieve a thing. And that's probably the same as about 1,000 games, isn't it? Have a card achieve the thing. Yeah, so instead of just collecting certain colours of stuff, you have to have certain either orders of animals in a row, or certain kinds of animals in certain kinds of
Like
what's
terrain
the word?
environment.
Terrain environment. Yeah, exactly. So you've got basically like a chessboard kind of layout, 7x7 squares, with like a nice little Serengeti scene on it. So you've got a river running through it, and some trees and some rocks and stuff. And your card might say line of sight, because the whole premise of the game is you are a wildlife photographer trying to curate really lovely videos or footage or
Around,
pictures. Yeah,
basically,
yeah. So you have these cards that will give you VP or whatever if you are able to curate that image with a few little kind of tweaks. So you can get some visual effects tokens so that you can kind of ignore one of the requirements. Yeah, so it's got kind of not tags exactly, but some of the cards either give you VP, some give you other stuff like a visual effects token every time. So if your thing says a giraffe, a rhino, and a hyena in a line, they can have other animals mixed in as well, but they must be in that order.
Yeah.
So that'll give you points or whatever. And as soon as that is achieved, either on their turn or your turn or whatever, you kind of get it in your little video collection. So there's line of sight stuff. There is get a rhino on the rocks, a cheetah in the water, and a hippo.
That's like a cocktail,
not a hippo.
Rhino on the rocks.
Yeah.
Rhino on the
They're
rocks.
nice, they are.
Yeah, rhino on the rocks.
A giraffe in the bush. No, that's something different.
So you can kind of get these things, but if you've got a visual effects token, you can say have a rhino on the grass, and you can kind of ignore that sort of criteria. So it's just basically that, and you've got some money which you can take turns, so you can either move the animals around the board, you can swap animals with each other,
Pay them to move to the left a bit.
exactly that.
100, just move to the left.
Is that you just driving around in your Jeep, go get on, move over there, get on the rocks,
and you can get like extra meat tokens. So if you choose the move where it's like, I don't know, move 3 spaces, you can either move an animal 3 spaces or 2 spaces, or you can move 3 animals 1 space. But if you've got a hunk of meat, you can lure it another space. So that's kind of how you can tweak it slightly. You can discover new animals and put them out on the board wherever you like. It's just kind of a puzzle kind of game.
Nice.
But the pieces, oh my god, they're so beautiful.
The animals look really nice, don't they?
They are, as they came out of the box, I was just like, whoa, they're just chunky, screen printed, delicious little beauties. Honestly,
Delicious. Those rhinos are delicious.
That Rhino on the Rocks was great.
It's just a lovely, lovely quality game. I think probably we've got the copy with the sort of blinged up bits, because there is the cardboard tokens in there as well. But the animals are wooden, and I think they're probably wooden animals whatever you do, because there wasn't cardboard.
But they might not
on
be
it.
screen printed.
Maybe not.
Right.
Don't know. The hyena, though, did remind me of a hyena that you'd see on South Park. Like, it looked slightly cross-eyed.
It's like a badly drawn hyena.
Yeah. But it's good.
That's the charm.
But they are beautiful. Like, the pieces are beautiful. The artwork is lovely.
Yeah.
It is such a very, very easy game.
I like the theme. I think the theme's pretty cool. Quite chill.
Yeah, it is quite chill. It's just,
Yeah.
move your stuff. Oh, I've achieved that thing. Oh, you go.
Did you have Toto Africa playing in the background on constantly?
No, we missed out, didn't we? There, we missed a trick.
You didn't do that. Oh, see, that's what you need.
No, I didn't. I didn't make the most of my birthday. Whatever I want goes, because we know how Kerley feels about certain kind of music.
You could have 3 hours of jungle music.
I could have had,
It's George of the Jungle. Every song from George of the Jungle.
Watch out for that tree. I love it.
But it was a really great game. So that's been my highlight of
That's cool.
games played recently. Really, really good. Glad we got it off the shelf, and we'll definitely play it again.
Nice.
Yes, it's one of those. It does stand off the shelf because it's got a nice cover on it,
lovely.
and as you say, the chunky meeples.
Yeah, looks aesthetically pleasing, doesn't it?
It's good.
How about you guys?
Recently, I have finished off the last deck from the Star Wars Unlock series.
Oh.
So I can't remember if I've mentioned this, but
I don't think you have.
I've not heard of it. So.
I bought the box. So Unlock is an escape room in a deck of cards.
Okay, that's good.
Basically, is the sort of the premise of them. And it used to be you bought one box and it came with one deck and that was it. But they then sort of grouped them into 3s. So now you get 3 different decks and they're normally completely different themed. And I just thought, you know what? The only way I'm going to lure someone in to play this with me, I didn't want to do it on my own, is if I get an IP theme and they brought out Star Wars.
Yeah.
So I was like, right, I'll buy the Star Wars box. And I bought it about a year ago, and just every now and again it'll be like, right, do you fancy doing something a bit different? The Unlock series, like we'll get the next Unlock deck out and play through. And this is really tough because it's a game that I can't really talk about that I want to talk about, because if I talk about it
spoil it
too much, I'll spoil it for everyone.
I see.
Because there's only a set number of clues, and if you talk about what happens even part way through, you'll give away some of the clues that you need to do earlier. But the gist of it is that you start off and you pick a couple of like benefits. There's like a deck of like 6 cards which have different benefits, and you pick 3 off the top, I think it is, and it'll say, when you're looking at the moon, look to the left. That's not an actual clue, but it will say something like that on there. And
I was writing it down then. Yeah.
Or add 5 minutes to your timer or whatever.
Okay.
And you start the app and you press the button and you'll turn over cards and you'll sort of look for clues on the cards, or you can add 2 of the numbers on cards that you think go together, and you can put it in the app and it will tell you to look for a different card in the deck or different things like that. And so you're just trying to solve puzzle after puzzle after puzzle until you get to the end and you've done it. But it tells a really nice story through each of them. One of them wasn't particularly engaging as a story. Again, I don't want to spoil anything, but across the 3, they did a really good job, I thought, of giving you a story that felt Star Wars related, there's a couple of bits where you're like, oh, they're really just trying to shoehorn this sort of like skin around
a mechanic into a thing that didn't really fit.
That didn't really fit properly. So, but for the most part, they were all strong, and myself and my friend sat across from each other, and we started the app, and then was turning over cards. And for the most part, I'd say about 60 to 70% of each of the things we had to do, we would both be there, like working it out, and would have similar ideas. Oh, probably just need to look at this, or is there a that to look for on the card, or whatever. And then just every now and again, like one of us would be clearly staring blankly at it, just going, I don't know what to do, and someone would go, I can see the solution to this, and you'd just be like, well, my mind is blown. And that's why I didn't want to do it on my own, is because I knew that there'd probably be moments like that where I just would get, and again, too many people I think would just throw it off the other way, but 2 or 3 people I think is probably about right. Yep. And yeah, we got through all 3 of them, did it over about a year, and I really enjoyed it. And then I looked at the other ones and I thought, you know what, I want another IP, but there isn't any.
They're not doing any other IPs.
So the Exit Games came out with Lord of the Rings, which the Exit Games is another sort of exit room in a box kind of thing. But you destroy components, and while they're cheaper, I like the idea of being able to hand the box to someone or sell it on or whatever. Or trade.
I was just about to say, what's the replayability, or is it a case of you've done it once, you sell it to someone else?
Apparently one of the unlock decks did have a destroy this card, or you had to fold the card to do it or something.
Okay.
But all the rest didn't, is my understanding. Now I may have misunderstood that, but I'm sure that's what someone was telling me. But all the others are just, and it tells you what order to put the cards in, but otherwise I'm pretty sure you could just shuffle the cards and just keep there's a handful that go on top that you have to find out originally. Like you turn them over to start the game. And I'm sure as long as you kept them separate and put them back on top, you could just hand them to someone else. I couldn't replay it because I now know all the answers to everything, but you could hand it on to someone else.
That's what I do with my set. Not Star Wars, but another free deck set. I literally reset it and gave it to a family. And I went, there you go, have fun with that. But I've never seen them since.
Nice. But I thought they did a great job of, and again, there were sort of 6 or 7 of these big triple deck boxes in by the time they got to the Star Wars one off the top of my head. And I thought they had, at this point, probably a pretty good idea of a couple of intro puzzles just to kind of get your mind working. And there's always a few options of, I'll try those, that hasn't worked or whatever to start with. And then the game sort of expands out and contracts and expands again, where suddenly you've got loads of cards on the table and you're looking through all of them trying to figure out which go together or what's a clue for what. And then suddenly it'll come right back down to 2 cards, or that sort of 2 or 3 cards, and then it'll expand again and contract and all that kind of stuff. And then you get to the end, and normally at the end of each deck is either something really clever or just really funny.
Okay.
As that's fun. Of course that's hilarious. Or it makes you feel really smart that you've done this one at the end. And so I felt those 3 decks had a really good flow through them of just sending you on that journey and ending on a nice point, whether it was just because it was funny or whether it was because it was a bit of a brain burner. Yeah, really enjoyed it. I do recommend you try one at least.
Well, I'm just thinking that me and Kerley, his brother and his mum are all going to go on holiday later in the year.
That could be good fun.
And that could be something that doesn't take up a lot of luggage space.
No.
That you could, if you had to sacrifice something from your luggage because you bought so many Disney mugs you can't fit them in your suitcase.
It's terrible when I was out of the box then.
Yeah, I'm not leaving that behind in the hotel room, whatever happens. But you could, that sounds like something to take up a small amount of luggage space, but be good.
About 20 to... Well, so you can occasionally find a deal on some of the non-IP ones quite often, but they tend to sort of sit between about £17, £18 and about 25 quid for the 3 decks, which, like, when you think about it, is less than a tenner, for each experience.
It's like 3 nights worth of entertainment, really.
JP?
Yeah, JP.
I'm going to talk about The Witcher, the old world, because I had a call from Rob at the weekend, and he went, mate, can you help me sort this game out? It's obviously just been delivered on Kickstarter, and he's turned up. He's got all the components everywhere, and it's like there's cards upon cards upon cards. He goes, I don't know what's the core game. I don't know what's the modules. I don't know what's the expansion. I don't know what's this, and I don't think it was very well labelled as what was what. And I was like, right, okay. And I'm like, this is great. Because
Happy
this is where
yeah.
I step into hyperdrive, isn't it? Because I love all that. And he's just getting stressed out, bless him. He's like, oh, I hate this shit. So I helped him sort it all out. So this is what we're going to do. And then we had a quick game because I thought, well, I've done all the
now
hard
you're
work
here
now.
and you've
I might as
sorted
well
it out.
learn it and play it. And
Can you come over, sort out all the boxes, and then go again, please?
and then you bugger off. So we got to play it, and I had a really good time with it. I didn't really know kind of how I'd feel about the game. I like the IP. I like the Witcher IP. I love the game,
So do
the
I.
video game. Yeah,
So
you like it
do
for different
I.
reasons.
Do you just like Henry Cavill?
I don't like Henry Cavill.
You like him in a bath?
It's what's the character called?
Geralt.
I never ever like the actual real person. It's only the character that I'm interested in every single time.
You need to
Mr.
play-
Darcy, Captain Jack Sparrow.
You need to play the video game Witcher 3, The Wild Hunt. Very good.
Okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
it's basically you just stare at him for 60 hours, 80 hours.
Oh,
Now,
that'd be difficult.
I've heard there's a scene where he has sex on a unicorn.
Yes.
What?
There you go.
I don't need to watch him having sex on a
Only
unicorn.
if you get lucky, I think.
There's your tagline.
Yeah.
Sex on a unicorn.
Toss
all
a
right.
coin into your Witcher. Anyway, so I played obviously the board game, which doesn't have any unicorns or sex in there. Not that I've found anyway. Maybe there's a quest line. Who knows? But what is the game? The game is, I think, in its core kind of mode, it's competitive, but it does have a co-op mode with the Wild Hunt, which I think personally, I think it will fit it better. But anyway, I'll come around to that. So the idea of the game is that you all play different witches from various different schools. It's kind of set before Geralt and set before
No, I'm not interested.
those kind of main characters, and you all kind of start in different areas of the continent on the map, and all the the different kind of cities. If you're familiar with the IP, will be very familiar with Sintra, and you'll be very familiar with Novigrad and other areas, and that I can't remember. And you're kind of just basically roaming around. You're doing what your Witcher does, which is kind of get information on where these monsters are. You're tracking them down. You're hopefully going to slay them and get kind of trophies from doing so. And that's the kind of the idea, is that you get so many trophies. I think you agree before the game starts, 4-6 or 4-2-6, and the first two get the trophies kind of wins. So you can do that by killing monsters. You can do that by actually fighting each other to defend your school's honour. So you can actually have a kind of PvP little combat thing. Or you can do it by levelling up your Witcher in the various attributes of like combat, defence, alchemy, and your speciality of your school. And then you can kind of get to a point where one of those is topped out. You can meditate, and then that will get you a trophy and give you kind of abilities. So yeah, the kind of the mechanics of the game is all built around your action cards. You'll kind of have a deck of cards, and there's kind of a light deck building in the game that you can purchase more cards that allow you to do kind of better moves and better combat and things like that. But these cards are dual purpose, so they're either used for locations for you to move around, because there are like 3 location types of mountain, forest, and watery sea places. I can't remember. Ocean. Yeah, aquatic, maybe river, maybe rivers, maybe seas. And you spend those cards or discard those cards to move around the map and do the various actions at the different locations, which might be leveling up this or grabbing a potion or doing whatever. And then so that's kind of the first phase. The second phase is you either you go and explore the cities or the wilds, and that will trigger off little exploration, choose this, do that. They might unlock a quest that you go and draw like a location token. Off you go, find a little quest. You might get some gold. You might do this. You might do that, which is quite thematic and very witchery. That if you play the games again, it'll all kind of make you feel like the IP's there. But the bit I want to talk about is that actually the combat was really fun. Like the way they've done combat's diceless, so there's no let's chuck dice and who wins. It's all done on the card play. And so when you initiate a fight with a monster, if you've tracked it and you've done the homework and you've done the legwork, you'll get the upper hand on it because you're basically giving it the element of surprise, rather than walking in and going, shit, it's attacking me, which you can do if you want. So yeah, the more kind of work you do, the better it is. And then your deck that you have is kind of shuffled together, and your deck, the amount of cards is your life. So. Yeah. Which is quite an interesting thing, because obviously it's a deck builder, so the more cards you have, the more vitality you have, but also means...
You've probably got more chaff.
Yeah, more chaff in there, that you're not drawing strong attacks and things. And it has a nice combo chaining system with the cards, so different cards will be like your very offensive, sword swings, things like that. Others will be signs that you use, so you have like little magic spells that you can do. Some will be defensive, etc., etc. So the idea is that you'll play a card and it'll have like a red strip with damage on there, and it will have like a yellow little kind of box that sticks out, and that'll tell you can chain a yellow card off and basically put that together. So you can then play a yellow card. That might have a little chainy thing with a purple.
Combo fighter.
Yeah, so it's kind of you play that, and you play that, and you play that, and sometimes you might play 3, 4, 5 if you're really lucky, but obviously you're spending your life.
Yep.
As well, so you kind of so I found that quite an interesting mechanic. I've not dealt with that, but combo fighter.
Fighter. So combo fighter is just 2 players with a deck each, and the same thing. Your deck is your life.
Yeah. And
in your hand, you'll have cards with like red circle, yellow triangle, etc. And it will say, if you can chain the red circle to yellow triangle or blue square. And it will tell you how much that attack is worth in your opponent's sort of life in the initial bit, and then if you used it as a chain. So some attacks you want to open with, but then your opponent, they've got a little cheat card for you. They'll know what you're opening with, etc. And so it's a bit more sort of Street Fighter and all that lot, but it sounds really similar. And then they've built more of a Combo Fighter is best of 3. Each round takes maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes. It sounds like they've taken that element and built a much bigger, wider game around it. Which is quite interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. I just found that whole mechanic really fun, and just going, right, well, do I go heavy now, or do I kind of hold back? Do I try and get my defences back up? And again, depending on what you're playing, depending on kind of what happens. But yeah, I found that really fun. But yeah, we kind of got through, played the game, did a lot of things, and got to the end and thought, that's really good fun. Like, it's not the best game in the world, but I thought they did a good job with the IP, and I'm looking forward to playing again. The thing that I know that Rob's got, because he's got the Kickstarter, so he's got a lot of the stretch goal modules that have been thrown in.
He was so excited, by the way. He was just so
he's very
excited that this game was in existence. And that
now he's played it. He's like, because this is a Rob game. Like, this is Rob's game.
You've not mentioned co-op, which is what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
And you've not mentioned any co-op element at all.
Yet.
And that's not yet, since an expansion is.
So the Wild Hunt expansion is basically makes the game co-op. So the Wild Hunt is this, I don't know, the Witcher IP. Sorry, Witcher fans, but there's like these creatures or beings that are kind of chasing you completely across the map, and I think you work together to try and.
I watched the intro to we started watching the 3rd series, and I'd forgotten the 1st and 2nd, so I'm going to have to watch all that again.
They're in it because
the name of the thingies.
Yeah,
no, it's gone.
Doesn't matter. But yeah, you work together to stop them, and I can see that with now the mechanisms.
Now it sounds like a Rob game.
Yeah, really, really good fun. But I think even he enjoyed the competitive element, to be fair to him. And it plays solo, does all that kind of stuff. But one of the modules that I'm really interested in is I think it's the Monster Trail module. So it adds more kind of advanced the ways that the monsters work and attack, because they are quite samey.
Yeah.
Like they'll have different life forces and one ability that makes them a bit different. But this module replaces those cards with like bigger cards. It puts more special cards in their attack deck. So when those cards come out, we say, right, trigger a special attack 1. And then obviously, depending on what monster, if you're fighting a water hag, then that will do something different to a werewolf or something else. But yeah, it's and also you can kind of learn weaknesses of those monsters. That will give you boons and special things as you travel around the map doing your homework, speaking to the locals, etc., etc. So yeah, look, it's cool. We'll play again soon. Nice. Good fun. Nice.
So, getting into the meat and gravy of this episode, or tofu and gravy, if you're a veggie.
Yeah.
I suppose. Let's talk about games collections. I have seen loads of selfies with a shelfie post recently on some of the socials. And it's interesting because when someone has only got like a few games, they seem to be really apologetic about it. Like, oh, this is my meagre selection. And, you know, it got me thinking, does size matter? And yes, haha, insert your double entendre here. But
insert it here.
Double,
that is a double entendre.
A triple entendre. Yeah. If a person plays like a small beloved selection of games 3 or 4 times a week, is that better or worse, or just different to someone who plays a giant collection and never gets half of them to the table. Like if you've got someone that is super passionate about, you know,
Terraforming Mars,
just for an example, or but any kind of small amount of games and just wants to play them lots, are they any less of a board gamer than, you know, someone that owns half of Zatu or something? Do you know what I mean? Like, but who's showing the games more love? The ones that are absolutely, you know, just in love with some games and they play them 3 or 4 times a week, or, you know, does it matter? Do the amount of games we own make us more or less of a board gamer? Because I think some people feel that way, don't they?
I think they do. There are definitely some people who feel that, you know, that the number of games feels that you're more of a gamer than others.
Yeah.
It's bollocks, in my opinion. It's like you can have 2 games on your shelf, and if you play those games every week and you're having fun, you're a gamer.
Yeah.
That's it. Like, there's nothing more, nothing less to say about it. You're a gamer, independent of how many games you own.
Yeah, I feel like it is a bit like a gatekeeping sort of tactic.
Yeah.
You know, people want to demonstrate their knowledge of all the games ever, but if you never play most of them in your collection.
And the term "are you more or less of a gamer" is odd, and I've heard it before.
Yeah.
But it strikes me as an odd one because I think board games has a physicality to it, which some other hobbies don't. But if I think about, let's abstract this to video games very quickly. Is someone who only plays Rocket League and is world champion more or less of a gamer than a streamer who's played all the games that Xbox or whatever ever had out during the 360 era or something like that? Because you do get, like, you look at channels that are out there. There are channels designed purely for, at the moment, I've just finished Hitman. There are channels out there purely where someone knows every single thing. They people who speedrun it. There's people who know every secret, how to unlock everything. Are they more or less of a gamer than someone whose job it is kind of like we do, where we don't really go into every, like just zoning in one game. We go over a little bit of everything. And it's really hard to say. As long as you're enjoying it, it really doesn't matter. But also, like, it's hard to say which one's more or less. If someone can tell me, like, again, we've talked about it before, and I mentioned Terraforming Mars because I thought it'd lead to an interesting point. I'm not the biggest fan of Terraforming Mars, but I know enough about it to get through a game. Whereas I know, like, Kerley pretty much knows every card in that deck, right, and what's there and all that kind of stuff. And I find that fascinating that he's learned all of that and spent that time learning it, and he's got good at the game of Terraforming Mars because he spent so long and is so passionate about it. I don't think I've ever got that passionate over a single game.
I'm the same too. I can't get invested enough into anything at all, really, in the world. I'm a collector of hobbies. I would say a broad spreader, but that was going to come out really. I like to know small amounts about lots of things rather than all the things about one thing.
Yeah.
And then that's what
shallow and wide, not narrow and deep.
I don't know, mate.
Oh my God.
I don't know. Hey.
But yes, that's the question in a nutshell, I guess. And yeah, from a collection point of view, whatever works for you, really.
Yeah.
I do find it odd when you've got people who know they haven't played a game in several years and their collection is so big that they'll never get round to it all.
Yeah.
I do find it a bit odd, but at the same time, that's just my understanding of my feelings on it. If that's what gives you joy, I know people who've got shelves full of books, of them that they will never ever read, but they've got whole sets and they can tell you about what years they were produced in and all that kind of stuff.
That's me too. Well, I can't tell you about the years, and I've forgotten half the plot line, but I do have them all on the board.
And if that brings some happiness,
yeah.
And I think that's it. There's a different hobby. We talked about this a little bit before, but there's a different hobby that's very adjacent to playing board games, and that's collecting them.
Yeah.
And it's the same with books, right? You can read books or you collect books, and I think that
both.
Yeah, or you do both. But I think collecting gives a lot of people joy, knowing that they have the thing and it's there. I can look at it, I can see it, I can maybe get the box open every now and then, have a look or read through the rule book. Like, people enjoy that.
It's an acquisition thing, isn't it? Having the set, having the group, the thrill of the hunt. I don't know. And maybe that's what it is.
It's an endorphin kick.
Yeah.
And to some point, some games you won't get out every year or every couple of years, and just knowing that it's there and that you'll have a good game of it every once in a while is good, right? But yeah, some people's collections I look at and I think, man, that's too big.
Well, it looks like a shop. I saw someone the other day. And someone had
right.
a little collection. Said, "Oh, I'm just out there. I'm just beginning. This is my modest collection." It was maybe, I don't know, 8 or 9 games, 2 Kallax cubes probably, something like that. And then this other person was stood there behind their collection, like they had to do the stretched arm selfie thing to get all of the.
Yeah.
And it looked like a library.
It's 50 squares.
It looked. There was 3 sides of a wall and another shelf in the middle, and you think, well, that's great. That's really nice. I hope you lend these to people, or because
or play 14 games a week.
this is it. Unless you do nothing but play games somehow for your job, you are never ever going to get. Even if you played, 2 games every night, I don't think they'd get through that entire collection in any time where they'd be able to remember the first game they played, because it's just crazy big.
I mean, this might be I might be the wrong person to kind of ask this, but like, I remember at the beginning of the hobby, when I kind of got back into it about 5, 6, 7 years ago, I felt like I had to own everything.
Yeah.
I felt like I had to acquire everything and keep everything. So that the rate of my collection was growing was scary.
An exponential. growth.
I started with that collection of 2, 3, and thought, calm yourself, mate. You go, oh, you've just bought another game. Now it's 4. It's 25% bigger. Again, another double entendre.
Hey.
But no, it's just, I think it's that kind of acquisition. You're getting lots of games. It's exciting. It's fun. It's new. But it does get to a point where you think, I've got to stop doing this.
Do we think it's a beginner's trait then? This yearning for amounts of games. I remember feeling like that as a teenager, having CDs. Like, oh, they're really cool because they've got 100 CDs, and I'm not cool because I've got 10. Like, is it to do with
showing our age, aren't we?
Yeah.
Well, at least we didn't say cassette.
No, I did have them too, but yeah, they're not as cool. They were never cool. Well, maybe they were cool back in the day.
They were
I don't
cool.
know.
My Walkman was the shit.
Is it about just collecting them then, rather than actually playing? Do we just want a collection of things to show our kind of, I don't know, our allegiance to being a board gamer?
It's tough, isn't it?
It's different things to different people. Some people for space reasons will cap themselves at actually quite a small number. Like, we've all got a cap, and most of the time it's quite often for size, for space. But some people will just, like, they'll get to the number of games they're happy with, and they'll be like, yeah, that's cool. I don't need to spend more money. I'll go on holiday instead of buying 24 more board games or whatever. And so, yeah, those people are probably quite happy with their selection of games and just playing through them repeatedly. Whereas some people, and I quite often in this camp, just like to dive in with both feet and get as much as you can get your hands on start with.
Yeah.
I'm definitely in that camp. Kerley said that I could be like that, but my tastes were fairly niche, so that kind of saves me from, like, I'm not ever going to want to go out and buy all the board games because I don't like crunchy game or whatever. So the fact that I have got a fairly, not narrow margin of interest in it, but
You're particular.
I don't span the whole horizon of every possible game that there is. So that saves me from myself, I think, in that instance.
Yeah.
So what do we think the magic number is?
Well, there isn't one, is there?
Yeah.
Like that. I think that's the thing. There isn't a magic number that says, I think it's 43.
Yeah.
That makes you a proper gamer.
It's to do with how many times you play, I think. So if you're only going to play the game once a year, that's probably not enough. Maybe once to twice a year. If you don't get round your collection in that amount of time, maybe that's too many.
Tell us about how often you get through your collection.
Well, there's some I haven't played yet, but
And
the ones
how long
I
have you
have,
had them?
yeah, but that's because I haven't.
Sounds like excuses, Becky.
Yeah, well, I'm relying on Adrian to come around and teach me how to play Quadropolis, so that's that.
Come on, mate, pull your finger out.
Yes, it's all your fault, actually.
It's like a full-page rule book,
Actually, I
but
think
you've got
you're-
to teach it.
Whatever.
It sounds like you're creating barriers for no reason.
I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, there's not that many that have sat on my shelf. Well, a year is the most they've sat on the shelf, and that's Photosynthesis. I got from UKGE in the Bring and Buy sale first time event.
Bring and Buy
The infamous
purchases of
Becky buys the whole
22.
Bring and Buy sale.
Yeah.
And I haven't played that yet. But then in my defence, I bought so many that time. I don't know that anybody could have gotten through the amount that I got through.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Is it about how often you play? Do you think if you play more, you want a bigger collection, or not necessarily?
it's really hard for me to answer this one because there are games that I've got in my collection I'll probably only play once a year, and I'm cool with that, and they're staying. And the reason why they're staying is because I really like them, but they kind of come out at game days.
Okay.
Right.
So it's a special occasion sort of
thing.
thing.
And it's not like they can only come out at game days, but it just seems to be the way it works. So
like what?
Coimbra is an
See,
example. Right?
I thought you were going to say Game of Thrones.
Yeah, well, Game of Thrones is an event game.
But
it's just,
once a year?
But it's once a year, and the fact because it takes so long.
Yeah.
Really. But yeah, I've got certain games that, like event games like Game of Thrones, Twilight Imperium, they don't hit the table that often, but when they do, it's always good fun. Then I've got games that, like Coimbra, which probably come out once a year, and I always enjoy it. I've really enjoyed that, but because of new stuff and other things that I want to play at the time, I don't want to get rid of it. And I think that's okay.
Yeah.
And I think and I think this comes to the point where in your collection, in your heart of hearts, right, that some games you just go, not feeling it anymore. For whatever reason. It could be that you just had 5 plays, you think, I'm done with this. Not like you figured it out, but I feel like I'm done with it. I want to move on. And it's time for you to say tatty bye. And I know you don't have this feeling, Becky.
Well, this is it. This is coming on to my next point. How do you cull your collection? And I'm looking for tips, please, because we're getting to so we've decided our magic number is around about 100, and that's pretty much because the space we've got to store them.
Is this a 50-50 split?
No. Well,
like, do you have 50? Do you have 50 and Kerley has 50?
No, I think it's more to do with pigeonholes on the Kallax cube. Actually,
yeah. So space.
Yeah,
as Adrian said, I think space is a real consideration on collection
definitely.
sizes, because I have that issue like everyone does. Right, there's a definite limit, and I've been pushing that limit a lot to the point where I'm like, I know I've got 4 Kickstarters coming. Where are they going to go? And should I get rid of some stuff? Okay, yeah, let's make space. I think making space is probably one of your primary key drivers for culling.
Yeah.
Because you've got to find space for stuff.
Yeah, and I mocked you earlier about the whole do you play it once a year thing, but I think it is a fairly good barometer.
Yeah.
In all honesty, I have games that I know aren't. So I was like mocking the fact that it's not a hard and fast rule, I don't think, about getting to play it once or twice a year. But I do think that it's a fairly good gauge, like anything in life. If you don't get to it within a year, the likelihood is
you don't really want
maybe you don't need it as much.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's kind of how much you play. Do you then say 2 years? Do you say 6 months? How much does the hobby, like actually doing these things, if you need it in your life quite regularly, then you might have a slightly bigger collection.
Yeah, that's something I was
or you
thinking
might
of.
play the
That's a good
same
point.
games more. The people you surround yourself with. I've got friends who have nearly no board games because everyone around them owns all the board games.
Yeah.
They don't have a collection at all, and yet they're a very firm board gamer. Like they know what they're doing when it comes to board games. So it's like I kind of worked out I've got around the 80 number.
Okay.
And that's roughly where my flex is, and it's partially due to size, but partially because I keep looking at games now and going, that's not getting to the table again.
Yeah.
So I've got games coming in, but I've got games that I'm always looking at going, that's not, we just talked a couple of episodes ago about the fact that I culled 25% of my collection all in one fell swoop,
So it gives
basically.
me the heebie-jeebies, Adrian. I don't know how you managed it.
And yet I'm already looking at games and going, that one can go soon.
Yeah. Well, I was wondering if does it fall into like a sweet spot between how much you play and how important board gaming is into your life, therefore your priorities of what you allow to take over your house. Like maybe if you've got a busy house with 3 kids and they're all into their own hobbies and stuff, and you've got a small amount to kind of put your stuff, is that how much board gaming takes up in your house? Or, that I only ask because in our house we could have literally an entire board game house full of board games if we wanted, because there's nothing else it has to fill if we didn't want it to.
You have the room if you really wanted it to.
But there is still a we have added a couple of Kallaxes to it to kind of fit, but when there's no more room for Kallax in that bit of the room, I can't imagine us getting more Kallax. We would just get rid of more games because
you wouldn't get to them.
Yeah, that's it. So is it to do with how often you play, do you think? So do you think people who play more often might have more?
Yeah,
not necessarily?
I think it is. I think there's a link there because for a person or a couple or a family who has, let's say, 5 games in their collection, but they play once a year at Christmas, they're not probably going to need 80 to choose from. It's once a year, right? They're like every 5 years I've played all my collection once, Yeah. So I think it has to correlate, and I've just literally gone on to BGG when you said, Adrian, thinking, how many are in my collection? I've got 80.
Yeah.
So 80 is about my cat, excluding expansions, people.
Oh, yeah, that's a very important. He's got about 5,000.
Yeah, it does bump the numbers up. But then a lot of my expansions are in the base game box if I can help it. I don't tend to like storing them separately. But anyway, I think that is a definite correlation.
I think there's, as you say, if you put the scenario out there that you have 40 acres of house, right, but you only have a limited amount of funds, you still got to decide where those funds go.
Yeah.
So yes, you could keep buying it and never sell, and your collection would get slowly bigger. But I think you'd find that you'd get natural drop off in the fact that you'd start and have games that just stayed on the shelf. They'd be like the back of the cupboard.
Yeah.
sort of.
We seem to be agreeing that if it doesn't get played within a year, you don't play it enough, or you've got too many games to choose from, right? That seems to be like we've all kind of talked about a year,
I would say
we?
within a year. I'd say a bit longer, maybe 2.
Yeah, I would. Okay. And again, I feel like there's exceptions to the rule. I'd say for the majority of my collection, a year would work, but I would always have exceptions on there where I'm like, actually, this could go for. I only just sold Ghost Stories, which is my first ever board game that I bought. And
that's a tough call.
It stayed there purely from an emotive.
Yeah.
This is my first ever board game. It introduced me to the hobby. I loved it so much at the time. It's the hardest game I've ever played. Not that complex, but really hard. But yeah, and I only just got rid of it. And yeah, I hadn't played it for 7 or 8 years.
Yeah.
And I've got other games on the side there that. Fungi, I don't think I've played that for 2 or 3 years, but it's a little game and it's fun and I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it doesn't take up much room. It's easy to justify those ones, isn't it? The small little
stay
ones.
there for a little bit long. Yeah, it's the big boxes I find are the quickest in my collection. Like I'm looking at Imperial Assault at the moment. Haven't played it for a year. It is 2, 3 biggish. It's a Kallax cube basically.
Yeah, there's a lot of boxes. Yeah.
And yeah, that's despite the fact that there's a lot of game there that I'd like to get through. That's probably one of the next ones on the coal pile, purely from how much space it takes up. So yeah, I don't know. I think people will have finances, people have games they love, people have space limitations, and it will be kind of a mix of that decides.
It's interesting you say about how much like Kallax cube percentage the box takes up, because you're right. You're like, if you've got a game that's taken up pretty much 80% of one cube. It's one game.
Mosaic.
It's a big box. Deluxe components, this, that, and the other. And you always, I look at it and go, I can get 4 games in there.
Yeah.
And you just think, I can maximise the space, but I can probably squeeze a few in there. And those games seriously get under question and scrutiny. Do I really need to keep this? Is this giving me the same joy as it was? Because a lot of these are Kickstarters.
Gotham City Chronicles is the one I'm thinking of. It was two and a half Kallax cubes that filled.
Was it 2.5?
2.5 with the expansions and all just season 1 stuff.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed it. And actually, I played it a lot over lockdown with a solo mode that I found on BGG that has now basically made it into the actual proper printed version.
Oh wow.
But yes, 2.5 Kallax cubes, and I enjoyed it, but not 2.5 Kallax cubes worth of enjoyment.
That's weird, isn't it? You say that. Is it 2.5 Kallax cubes worth of enjoyment?
Is that how we're going to quantify our enjoyment now?
I think the same. I look at it. I look at Too Many Bones, and I think it's worth it. Right? It's 1 Kallax cube, and I'm like, I'm cool with that. And that's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
But there are certain games I'm like, even 50% of a Kallax cube, I'm looking at you, looking at what are you doing? What are you bringing to the party?
Well,
You're not bringing anything, are you? You're going home. You're going somewhere else.
We're going to hopefully try and play Merchant's Cove soon. It's in our pile of we need to play that
nice.
quite soon.
In that, yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Because it's a chunky old box, that one.
It's a 50%
Yeah.
Kallax cube
Do
box.
we like it 50%? I'm gonna. That's gonna be my new metric of enjoyment. How much of a Kallax cube enjoyment was that?
Yeah. It kind of works though.
Yeah.
Because it's about space and it's about replayability.
Yeah.
And
Because it's one of those ones that fill up a lot of space also tend to be worth a bit of money, right?
Yeah.
But if you're not critical to the point of if I don't sell this game, I don't pay my bills or whatever, that kind of, the money's spent, right? Like
It's done. Yeah.
It sits there now as long as it needs to sit there until I decide I can sell it to fund another game that I want to play. And so at that point, it becomes less about the money it's worth. Again, assuming you're not critical for money and all that kind of stuff, which is
that's a specific case, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, you need the cash, you got to sell them.
Or, it's like you've got the entire Battlestar Galactica set that's going to go for 800 quid or whatever it is, and you're just like, I fancy a bit of a holiday.
Is any amount of Kallax cubes worth that payoff?
Well,
possibly not. Not.
Otherwise, I think it's interesting how much space can then play a...
Yeah, it's interesting how you said sort of you've got friends that maybe don't own any games, but like buying the same games your group already owns, some people wouldn't dream of doing that. And some people, I'm one of those people. If I know I like a game, 5 other people could have it. I'm still going to want it because I want to play it on my terms and not worry about having to involve someone else in my... If I want to play it, I want to play it now. And I do not want to have to wait on someone else.
I used to be like that. Used to be.
But yeah, because you're getting rid of Ark Nova, aren't you?
Yeah. In fairness, I was the one that introduced the game to you guys.
Yeah.
And then you've gone and bought your own copy. And I don't play mine anymore. I'm like, there's no point in me having it, so I'm getting rid of it. But to the point where Elder Scrolls, Chip Theory's new game, like that was a moment of crisis. That was like, I think I might need to get this, and I was like, no, stop it. Rob's getting this, right? Rob's getting it. I don't need it. I've got enough. Blah blah blah. And I backed off, and I thought that was a restraint for me.
So did you feel like a moment of growth there?
Yeah, a little bit, and weeping into my pillow. Oh, I should have got it.
Wait till Rob's got it, and you'll be like,
that's true. I've not played it yet.
I could just do this for solo, because like solo, you do a lot of solo, and solo is the one thing where it's hard. Like you can borrow games, right? But you can't just stick this in the calendar just so I can come around yours and play it on my own. Like you can't
solo
do that.
when you're in the mood. Yeah. And you do it there and then, usually. You don't plan, you know what, on Thursday, in a week Thursday, I'm going to go and play this game solo. You don't, for me, it doesn't work that way. So.
No.
But no, I think it's, I've gotten to a position where I think I can, knowing that the group's got the game. So if it's in the group, I'm kind of cool with that now. Whereas before, I'd be like, I really like this, I want to have it. I want to have it, I want it in my collection.
Curly has the same thing, like Eclipse.
Yeah.
He loves that game, but you've got it, so he has to stop himself buying it every time he sees it because he's like, I don't need it. But I'm still surprised he hasn't bought it. Because,
I am as well.
Because that's,
Yeah.
I don't think he's about having the acquisition. I think he just likes to play the game or whatever. But he knows if you're always going to play it, he's going to be playing it, so it's fine.
I think you just want to, like, if we enjoy something, like we have a really, really good time with the game and you really like it that much, it's natural that you'd want to own it.
Yeah,
like,
that's how I feel about it.
It's part of your possession,
Definitely.
you know?
Definitely.
It's natural.
So this is I've spoken to David about it now. This was the whole Gallerist thing, right? So I played the Gallerist. It was my first Lacerda. We did a whole series about it. Fell in love with it. And I'm now kind of not bothered about Lacerda as much. Like, I'll be honest, like I enjoyed playing through it, but I don't know how bothered I am as a series. I will still play the games that I really enjoyed a few times, but David was like, I'm really looking at that game to get it. And I was like, if you buy it, I will be stuck in this conundrum of, do I want to buy it for myself? But what's the point? Because every time I play it, I'll probably play it with you guys and you'll have the copy of it.
Yeah.
But I want it on my shelf
because
it's a game that I'm in love with. So I said, oh, don't do that. Like, I fancy buying that. Haven't bought it.
Yeah.
And I can understand from Davey's point why he got a bit frustrated about it, because he was like, well, you told me not to buy a game because you were going to buy it and now you haven't bought it. But I was in this at the time. Every time I mentioned the game, someone from the group had bought it.
Yeah.
And I found myself stuck in this really difficult place of, but if I want to play with a different group or whatever,
or on your terms, or whatever,
on my terms, or whatever it may be, I don't have that game. And normally it's me that's gone, someone, like, I think you guys will like this. Like, I had quite a few of those. I was like, I think you guys will. I've like really liked this game.
I've already bought it on Amazon when you just said that sentence.
I'm thinking of buying it, and someone else is like, oh yeah, I've just bought it now, and you're like, oh, okay. And that was the Gallerist was kind of the top of that peak. I was like, but yeah, if I don't buy it, then no one will have it. But if you buy it, I'll be annoyed that I don't own it.
Yeah.
And it's an emotional thing.
It's really weird, sort of conflict of kind of emotions and feelings. And I would say for the most part, I am not bothered generally. But there's been some times where, like, within a real small time frame, loads of people have bought the games I was just about to buy, and I've thought, oh, well, what's the point? And so therefore I haven't bought any of the games that I really want to play.
Mm-hmm.
And I would probably play more if I owned it, but not enough more
to
warrant having it.
It is about the collection, isn't it? It is about acquiring it for yourself to a small degree, maybe.
Yeah, as I say, I'll go through like sort
Well,
of
it's in your
peaks
collection.
and troughs of it.
As you said, it's on your terms.
Yeah.
So, and that's the other reason. It's like, you know, I want to play that game. I can play it when I want. I can organise the game when it suits me.
Yeah.
Not everyone else. And there's not a selfishness around it, but it's kind of like, that's mine.
Yeah.
Like,
My precious,
yeah,
my
I get
own.
to organise it when I want to because I really like it. But it's so an emotional thing. It's emotional. Like as you were talking, I was kind of instantly transported to being in my younger years, going, "Oh, I really fancy her. Don't go and talk to her." And
Thanks for the comparison.
But no, I fancy her too. Oh, but you haven't made a move, have you?
Who's got the dibs? Who's got dibs?
You've got dibs on that person, which is completely immature and
ridiculous.
Not what we think now as adults, but still, well, that's what it reminds me of. It's that kind of behaviour of
Bagsies, isn't it?
yeah,
It's Bagsies
I've
on
Bagsy in that
something.
game, and I've done it. Me and Davey had a thing around Anachrony at the time, many years ago, and I just went, I really want it, mate, and I just bought it, and it's a good job because he doesn't like it as much as me.
So
Which is the main thing.
Does he own it as well?
No,
Oh, okay.
but he was thinking about buying it, and I was like, I really want it. I really fancy it.
Did you give him the same cow eyes you're giving now as you're telling that story? I really want it.
Would
really
you
want
be offended if he then bought it as well?
No.
Would that bother you?
No. What I find though is like the Ark Nova. It's a really good example. Is sometimes when other people buy the games that you already have, and then they end up playing them a lot, your copy then doesn't get played.
Should we talk about Weather Machine?
Yeah, which is fair. And then you got to think, oh, now do I still need to own this?
Yeah.
Because maybe another person in the group has now adopted this game. Do I now have to have it? It's a weird one.
So maybe
it's probably an episode in its own right.
When the
that one,
shine wears off of the newness and the excitement of it, and you realise, oh, do you know what? I actually didn't need to own that.
Possibly.
Maybe I just wanted to experience it a couple of times, and now I'm not bothered.
Who knows?
It's all dependent, isn't it? I'd say Weather Machine was an interesting one because I was almost not going to suggest I don't open my copy when you said you had yours coming, because I thought it's going to get opened once, played once, and then I'm only playing JP's copy after that, so it's going to sit. And we opened it, and I thought, well, it's signed, so hopefully it's worth a little bit more, and I'm sure I will find another time to play it. But I imagine that game will sit on that shelf until I either decide to sell it or whatever because of that. But strangely, that one didn't bother me as much as the Gallerist.
Yeah, because that had a real deep connection with you when you played it. Like, I saw your face when you played it.
Yeah,
and like it's the happiest I've ever seen you. Like honestly, you skipped back at GridCon and you went, "It's so good, it's so amazing!" Like bloody hell, mate, is it that good? But yeah, I mean the Weather Machine example was I didn't just buy it because Adrian had it.
No, you had it kickstarted. You had it kickstarted, and then I won it
on the
raffle,
boat,
and then
and you
that
won
was
it.
a weird situation. But it can be around. You know, we're talking about is the shine off the apple. Sometimes it's not about the shine sort of being off the apple or whatever. If it's kind of it's yesterday's news. Sometimes it is, as you say, someone else likes it more, and I like it enough that I'm happy to go to theirs and play it every once in a while, and it can be on their terms.
Yeah.
It doesn't. I don't know about it sort of being not the latest hotness or whatever, but it can just be about if that person's going to keep that. If I'm pretty sure that person's going to keep that copy, or if they sold it, I wouldn't be that sad. It's if I think they've got it and I think they might sell it at some point in the near future, then quite often I'll question whether I keep it in my collection as well.
It's a good test. It's a good test whether you really feel that you need that in your collection and you love it enough. So the Ark Novas, I'm happy to let it go. The Gugons, happy to let it go. You know, there's certain games I'm like, no, I'm good. I feel like I've had my time with it, and I'll let someone else fly.
Yeah, if I get to play again, great. If I don't see it because now someone else sold it and I'm still okay with that, then that's quite often a good sign that you don't need it if your group's got it.
I think that kind of wraps up our conversation about board game collections.
Yeah.
I think so.
There's a lot to unpack in there. Like I think
Especially, it depends how big your collection is.
Yeah, that's true. But I think some of those topics we talked about, we could probably unpack into new episodes because they're quite deep, aren't they? They're
emotive.
They're very much, yeah. No, it's been fun.
Leading nicely into our Would You Rather for this episode.
What is it?
Okay, so the other guys don't know this. This is something that I've come up in my little brain. And it's weird because they've been just talking about it. So let's see what they think. So the option are, you can only ever play other people's collections on their terms and times. Or you can only own 5 games or the maximum 3 Kallax cubes. Because I know you're going to say too many bones. So that's why I've limited it to 3 Kallax cubes.
You thought about this,
5 games.
And you knew that I was going to be on this episode.
Yes, 5 games / 3 Kallax cubes.
Scumbag.
Yeah. So only other people's collections on their terms and times.
So you never have
A collection.
and you can only play other people's.
Yeah.
Or you can have 5 Kallax, but you can still play other people's.
5 or
No.
3? Is it
No.
5?
It's either 5 games or 3 Kallax cubes.
Right, okay. So 3 Kallax cubes with max 5 games in them.
Yeah.
But you can't ever play other people's
No.
games. I'm playing everyone else's games then. You got tons.
Yeah, but what if we move to
Sri
out to
Lanka.
Mongolia?
It's fine. I know other people.
You're dead to me.
Well,
You're gone.
if you've just left with my board game collection, seeing as though I'm not allowed to own one.
Well, this is the thing, because for me, the idea of only playing someone else's collection is so abhorrent. I'm relying on them to want to play. I'm relying on them to not sell the game that I really love.
Yeah, you're out of control, aren't you?
You're out of control.
I like that.
And awful. Or you can have 5 of the games that you absolutely love, your top 5 forever, which I guess maybe would even say you could, if you sold one, you could buy another one.
Yeah.
5's not enough.
Yeah.
That's the problem. If you'd said 15,
No.
then
Too many.
maybe
No,
I would have been
it's too
like,
many.
I might
5.
have 15 games. But 5 is not enough to
All the
satisfy
expansions.
my board game thirst.
It's getting
you're
very
gonna
sexual
satisfy
this
it.
episode,
I
isn't
couldn't
it?
think of
It's
what else
getting
to
very
call it.
sexual.
You're going to satisfy it with someone else's collection then. You're first with their collection. Right, well, I don't really know what that says about you, to be
Right,
honest.
so talk me through, right? 3 Kallax, 5 games, my collection,
Yeah.
do as I wish with
Yeah.
that cycling in and
Yeah,
out,
yeah,
but I
yeah.
cannot play anyone else's games.
No, people can come around
Yeah.
and play your games. That's totally
but
fine.
they're the only
you...
games that I can ever play.
Yeah.
Christ. See, you know me and the fact that I'm a control freak, right?
This is why I thought of the question, because it's how I
Yeah.
feel about it.
Yeah, so
Yeah, but you also need the latest hotness. And how do you get the
I
latest
know,
hotness
I know.
unless...
Like, 5? Oh.
Because in my mind, I was thinking JP's going to have too many bones, so we can't just have
Yeah, so basically it's 4 games.
and
That I've
too many
got.
bones.
And
Yeah.
2 Kallax
Yeah.
cubes. Because one's too many bones.
One's
Yeah.
30 bones, and I've
Yeah.
got 2 Kallax cubes of games, which are literally going to be 2 games in each, right? And then
No, I don't know. I think you can fit about 4 games
I
in a
reckon-
Kallax cube if they're you know.
Oh, hold on a second. I thought it was maximum of 5 games.
Yeah, it's max 5 games. You said.
Because if we're talking about you can have
No.
whatever you can put in 3 Kallax cubes, I can fit a lot in 3 Kallax cubes.
Lots
if
of
I'm-
little boxes.
All right, okay, yeah, we'll wind it
think
out.
5
3 Kallax cubes,
Oh, that's more of a question.
games that can fit. Because I was thinking of too many bones, and that's why I made it 3 Kallax cubes. So I thought, well, I can't just say to JP you can have 5 different games because he'll choose too many bones is one of them.
Tricarian.
Tricarian is he'll
Anachrony.
fill about 15 Kallax cubes with just his 5 games and all his expansions.
Yeah, no, it's just it goes back to the space thing we were talking about earlier,
yeah.
right?
So
Which
I
is
wanted
a
to
commodity.
confine the space. So you've
Yeah.
got 3
I-
Kallax cubes.
Settling this, as much as I would hate it, I'm going with my own collection with 5 games. And what it would mean is that I'd have to cycle a lot and have to let go of a lot.
Yeah, that'd be hard.
And it
for
might
me as
be
well.
that I'd have to rebuy certain things that I fancy playing again.
Like a lending library.
Yeah, be like, well, bye Anachrony, I'll miss you soon. And then 6 months later, I fancy playing Anachrony, I'll have to reacquire it
But
again.
you'll have to get rid of your
But
one
I'll
of
have
your
to
other
get rid of
ones.
something
Yeah.
else. So
Yeah.
it'd be this lending library of
Yeah.
in and out system, forever buying and selling.
Yeah.
What a pain in the
Del
arse.
Boy of
Yeah,
board games.
it's not great. But to sit
You're
there and
going to
go,
lose so much money
Well, don't
on
think about the
constantly
money
selling
side
cheaper
of it.
it is, but then
and buying higher, because that's the way it
the
works.
thought of me going, right, I'm now having nothing, and I'm now beholden to waiting on other people to put the games I want to play in
Imagine
that
if
they
put-
might sell.
The bits might be put back in the bags wrong as well, Jim.
I mean, I don't, because they're not my copies. I don't care. That doesn't bother me when it's not my
bothers
copies.
me.
It's more the fact that these games will be scheduled, and I might be busy. I've got to wait.
And then
to
they've
play
sold
that.
it now. Oh, I got rid of that game, Jim.
Yeah, I didn't really like it.
Yeah.
Oh, why'd you get rid of that? It was
To
amazing.
carry on. No, my friend bought it. I think he's burnt it actually.
Yeah,
but
I hate
it's not in my collection
No.
now.
So have the really small collection and just make do
Okay.
and go constantly because it's not enough for me.
What about you then, Becky?
I have to have my own games. It's going to have to be the 3 Kallax cubes for me. Has to be.
It's not enough games.
Has to be. All right. Well, you can now. I'm not going to say 5 games, but does it change if you can fit an entire 3 Kallax cubes? Does that change it? Because you can probably get a lot more games, but they're going to be the small, kind of insignificant ones, aren't they? And I don't mean that rudely. I don't mean that rudely when I say insignificant ones, but your small box games, they're just not as meaty, are they?
No.
And I know Adrian likes a good old meaty game.
Well, no, so I'm thinking, right, so Brass Birmingham's a thin box.
It's a good sized box.
And you
for a
cannot
game.
take them out of their original boxes. None of that.
You can't put other games in the box.
No, none of that. No.
Even then, though, right? So I'm just trying to work this through, right? So Brass Birmingham's a small box. Century is a fairly small box.
Yeah.
That would so not fit on my Kallax if I was only down to
But
3.
you can fit one behind the other.
Yeah, that'd be in the bin.
No,
That's not going
You
to
can fit one behind
You
the
could
other.
hide.
Yeah, no.
You can get Baron Park and I wouldn't like it because I can't see all my games nicely, neatly.
Yeah,
But if this
You
is
made the rules.
If this is the rules,
Yeah.
I can fit Baron Park behind Century Golem Edition. Brass Birmingham's only like an inch thick or something like that. You can start and get.
Yeah.
I've got Village, Street and Moon from Sinister Fish Games. They stack on top of each other.
Yep.
They're only and they're each decent sized, they're a decent-ish game. Hold on. They're a decent weight of game for how small a box they are. Those stack on top of each other, so all 3 of those will fit in a Kallax cube at about 2 inches away. I haven't even filled up a Kallax cube yet, and I've already got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games in it.
Yeah.
I reckon if the rules was 3 Kallax cubes, I might be tipped that way. If it's just...
Well, it's not.
If it's just 5 games, though, it's just not enough. It's just... No, I'll be beholden to... Which, to be fair, is pretty much how this group is for me anyway, is I wait for you guys to put stuff up, and if I like the look of it, I'll sign up for it.
Yeah.
I don't host. It's very rare that I bring a game round of mine and you guys play it. That's what I do with other groups. Is I own all the games
So
because
the
they
game
don't.
pusher to other groups.
Yeah, so a lot of them don't own a lot of games, or when they do, they're travelling and maybe don't have the need. So I house a lot of games for those groups. Whereas this group that I play with, I am normally beholden to what you guys
Like
are
the
doing.
consumer of, aren't you?
Yeah, so that's I'm fine with that side of it. Yeah,
Fair enough. Shall we go? Mix of opinions.
That was a good one, that.
yeah.
Yeah. I had to think about that one. I was in 2 minds. And then the control freak said, no, not having it.
We're nearing the end and we're on our penultimate turn. So what are we all looking forward to? Adrian, throwing it out to you.
Looking at me. I'm going to talk about something board game adjacent. So Games Workshop recently announced that they're bringing Epic back. So for those who don't know, so Games Workshop produce Warhammer 40k and Warhammer. They're 28 to 32 mil models that you paint up, assemble, paint. I don't do a lot of the painting, so I have the great armies, as they call it, which is just bare plastic. And then you fight other armies against them, is the general premise. Epic, each of the models is about 8 millimeters high.
Oh, wow.
And then you put like 5 or 6 of them on a base.
Okay.
And it was a game
Isn't that like Tyranids? Look at me with my Warhammer knowledge.
Tyranids is in Warhammer.
Yeah, but it's kind of small, isn't it? Makes me think of it. You can got these really small, because I put together somebody's Tyranid army and there was lots of very small little pieces.
I mean, maybe a, what are they called? Something swarm. So you get swarms on a base, which like...
I remember sticking lots of little things
Yeah.
on a 1 square thing.
Yeah, so that's still 40k. That's still the big size. They're just very small things in
Okay.
that. Whereas
Okay.
this is taking the bigger things and scaling them right down so
Okay.
that a normal like 32mm model is about 8 millimeters.
Wow.
And it was a system I never played the first time round and was really intrigued to play. And the most fun I have building and painting is at that scale. So there's a World War II game similar, like called Flames of War, which is all sort of 8mm models, and it's the only time I've ever really stuck to painting something for like a decent amount of time. I still haven't finished the army, but that tells you how rubbish I am at painting up armies. And yeah, it's at the moment. As I say, most of our listener base will probably not care about this, and I can see you guys already glazing over at me talking. So I'll keep it. I'll keep it sort of to the point. But they've just announced it. I thought it was coming. They've announced it fully now. It's out next month, and I'm really excited. I've bought they've got some models out that will go with this game, and everyone is clearly on a mission to go out and buy it all because I've been hunting like as many like little friendly local gaming stores, FLGSs, for whatever I can get my hands on because it's out of stock in loads of places, a lot of it. So I'm out there buying it all and putting it together at the moment, all in preparation for a game that doesn't even come out for but by the time this episode comes out, it'll have just come out.
Yeah.
But at the time of recording, it's a good few weeks off. And yeah, I'm just really excited. I like that scale. It reminds me of, so it's Horus Heresy, which Games Workshop, if they're not known for models, are probably known for their Horus Heresy series of books. It's like a 30, 40 odd series of books all about the rise of Space Marines and the Primarchs and all that kind of stuff. But I haven't read, I think I've read 5 of them, 6 of them, and I'm just re-listening through now and hoping to go further into the series. But I love that, all the lore around it anyway, whether I read the books or not. I love all the lore and I like the scale and and the game always looked so interesting. And the last time they really brought it out was when I was about maybe 17, 16 was the last time I think they brought it out. So I'm just like really sort of, got those sort of rose-tinted glasses the first time I was playing those kind of games. And B, just really excited for that scale and that system. So that's what I'm really looking forward to at the moment. But yeah, strangely at the moment, there's not a lot of board games out there that are really like making me go, ooh, that are like brand new to buy out there at the moment. There's a couple, but nothing really tempting me. Whereas that has kind of got me at the moment.
Got your hooks in.
Yeah.
Got the hooks in. Yeah.
What about you, JP?
Not game related. Oh, shock! Not game related at all. I'm actually looking forward to my holiday. My proper big holiday
Lovely
of this
summer
year.
holiday.
Summer holiday.
It's going to be brilliant.
We're going to Florida.
Woohoo!
And I've not been to Florida since 11 years ago. That was for my wife's 30th when we went last.
Guess how old his wife is now, listeners.
Sorry, Shell.
Delighted.
Yeah, she loves it. And then I think before that was many, many years. I think the first time I ever went I was 17. So, you know.
Different kind of holiday then, really.
Yeah, different. But I'm just really looking forward to taking the kids, going around all the parks, doing all the things. Obviously, Galaxy's Edge is a new thing for me.
Your eyes are going to be out on absolute stalks, mate. You are not going to know what's hit you.
I'm coming home with a lightsaber. It's going to happen.
Say goodbye to $150 then.
Yeah.
Or maybe even more, I think.
It's, it's going in my little souvenir room. So yeah, I'm looking forward to just experiencing it and getting back there and just, doing all the stuff. And the kids are going to absolutely lose their minds.
I'm so excited for you. I am so excited for you.
It's amazing.
Because you're just going to love it.
Yeah, so we've got 2 weeks there. We're going to do all the Universal. We're going to do all the Disney parks. We've got our own like kind of villa place with a pool. So it's just going to be lush. It's going to be great.
You and Rob and...
Yeah, we're going with Rob and Amy and their
all the kids. Yeah, you're just going to have a really nice time. What games are you going to take? If you have to take 3 games, what games are you going to take?
Oh, bloody hell. We'll probably take... Rob, I know, will take Star Wars deck building game.
Yeah,
we've been enjoying that as a little 2-player small box.
Him and Kerley played that the other day. I think. I enjoyed it.
It's very good, quickish, kind of 30-40 minute game. Enough in it, it's a bit meaty. And Star Wars, it's just like I'm going to do this. So yeah, probably take that. I might take Radlands because Josh will play that, and I think Rob would enjoy that as well. Oh God, anything else? Nothing too big.
Saboteur was what you talked about last time. That kind of...
I think that's probably a good shout. There'll be 8 of us, and actually Saboteur could play all 8, so we can have games like that. Love Letter will probably go. The usual stuff, really. Yeah, the usual stuff. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, you expected me to say a Disney game, wouldn't you?
No. I mean, Villainous is too big to take. Really,
it's a bit. Yeah, it's a big box. You could condense it into a bag.
You can buy Disney Uno when you're out there. Just to say, because I already own that. Disney Uno.
Disney Uno.
Yeah.
So no, can't wait. That's I think the time this gets released, it'll be in a couple of weeks, I reckon. Unless I've got my release dates wrong. Probably have. I might already be there.
Oh, you're going to love it. You're going to love it.
Yeah. What about you?
Mine is also going on holiday. Me and Kerley and his mum and his brother are all going away together, and I'm just really looking forward to the evenings spent in the hotel, just kind of playing really easy 4-player games together. I think I'm definitely going to get one of those, the Star Wars game you were talking about. Unlock. That, I think, sounds just right.
Well, don't get it then. You can just have my copy. I'll reset it and hand it over to you.
Oh, all right. Thank you very much.
There you go.
Wow. Adrian said a game I was going to buy it, and I'm not going to buy it now. That's never happened before.
This is like reverse Adrian.
Yeah.
Well, he's
If
enabling
I say I'll lend it to you, you won't like it, and you'll buy it for yourself because you don't like.
No, I can lend it. I could borrow this because it's for a duration. I could do that.
Either way,
Yeah.
you can
Thanks, mate. I
don't buy
appreciate
it.
it. I
Have my
appreciate
copy.
it. Because I think Kerley's mum will want to be involved, but she wouldn't probably want to play
too heavy stuff.
Yeah. So I think a kind of puzzly working out a game, I think she'll really enjoy that. Actually.
And then, with that kind of game, if someone's like, you know what, I'm just going to take a back seat.
I just
It
want to watch
doesn't
telly for a
matter.
bit.
They can
Yeah,
just sit
It doesn't
exactly.
matter. You're not breaking
Yeah.
the game.
Yeah.
So that works.
So that'll be really good. And things like Zuli. She loves Zuli. So that'll be cool. And maybe just take some games that the three of us can play. I would probably have to try and fit Clank in, but Clank Catacombs, it's just a bit of a big box to fit in your luggage, isn't it? But Kerley and his brother really like that. And I do too. And I think Kerley's mum might be able to get involved a little bit. So that might be and just kind of,
You need those travel bags that you can put the components in. So it's not the box you're taking. You just take the bits you need.
We did that when we took Splendor and we took Century Spice Road and another couple of games all in one. I think in the Splendor box. I think
I 3D printed all my travel versions, so my travel boxes are actually sat. Some of them, like the Splendor Marvel, the travel box that I 3D printed is sat in the Splendor box, so it's on the shelf in a nice Splendor box.
It all fits.
But then it's sat inside just a very plain travel 3D printed box that I've made. That's how I do mine quite often. Then you can just chuck that in the suitcase.
Yeah, we didn't really have holidays as kids. As a kid, like we used to come to Taunton on holiday. Great. I mean, it was brilliant. It was great, but we never had big family holidays because there's not groups of us. So I'm just really looking forward to that kind of family holiday feel.
Yeah,
that's going to be really, really nice. I think.
Very cool.
Yeah. So that's it. That's me, really.
Cool.
The final term beckons, and we wrap up the episode by encouraging you to recommend us to a friend if you've enjoyed the show. You can reach us on all the usual platforms, send us emails, and like and subscribe to your heart's content. Thank you all for listening, and until next time, whose turn is it?
Adrian's.
With his 3 Kallax cube. No, he's going to borrow everyone's game.